Hello and welcome to Grinding Mean 20. Red flags, yellow cards, and dungeon pugs. So I'd gotten into a group, and we'd just gotten everybody summoned to slave pens, and everybody ran right from the stone right inside. And then when we got in, I do this thing when I'm tanking, where if I don't want to leave things ambiguous. So if I'm not going to be pulling for a little while, I just sit down. It's a good way of signaling, okay, it's a good time to take a mana break. Because sometimes when you're DPS, it can be stressful trying to figure out whether the tank's going to stop for a little while, if he's going to move. But if you just sit down, it lets him know. And I try to be a team player. So I came in and I sat down. I knew they'd need some time because I had all the buffing classes there. So it was going to take them a little while. Let me take a little listen to my stream here. Gonna stop for a little. Yep. So I sat down. And nothing was happening. No buffing was going on. Everybody was there. It's not like somebody just zoned in and immediately went AFK. Everybody's there. Everybody has buffing obligations. No one's actually buffing. And I look through and I see, well, the only person with a mage buff is the mage. And the only person with a priest buff is a priest. And the only person with pally buffs is the pally. And the only person with druid buffs is the druid. Well, actually, the druid put thorns on me, but not Mark of the Wild. And if you don't know World of Warcraft, Mark of the Wild just gives a small increase to all your stats and a little bit of armor and a little resistance. And thorns just is a tiny amount of damage reflect. So, like, the the fact that he would put thorns on me, but not Mark of the Wild, is like this weird little power move. Like they're all inviting each other to complain about not receiving a buff, but they're also not buffing. And this standoff ensued. And I'm just sitting there like, this is amazing. Like, and so much of what I learned playing Rocket League and, the kind of toxic way people play, they'll talk, you can talk nice, but be playing like a dick. And this is just fascinating watching all of them. And it went for like a minute. Nobody's doing anything. It's like this weird, like, Mexican standoff. Like, okay, somebody's got a break here. And I'm like, I'm not standing up. And somebody's like, let's go. And it's like, really, dude? Because nobody has any room to complain because they're all playing this weird power game. Well, except me. I'm just watching it. And then no buffs go off. And then the druid, who was supposed to be DPS, pops in a bear form and runs up and starts pulling. I was like, nope, just Alt F4 out of game. I'm not. there's nothing good going to come from that group. They aren't there. Their primary reason for being there isn't the same as mine. Let's just say that. The reason this is titled, red flags, yellow cards, and dungeon pugs is there were a lot of yellow flags. I know I'm mixing metaphors, but like, I'd been seeing the signs roll in, but nothing was quite actionable. So I'll roll it back to the beginning. And I suppose I should do some... key bindings. And by the way, I jokingly told, I was leveling my warrior as arms, and that was going pretty good. And I remember joking to somebody about, if I ever really hate myself, I'll try to level Prot. And I'm like, well, crap, I like doing hard things. Let's see how well this works. And it's actually not that bad. I know, I'm having a World of Warcraft stream where I'm actually talking about World of Warcraft. I guess I could just do wolves. That's nice and simple. They're everywhere. So, started off, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I thought somebody said looking for tank for slave pens, and I misread it, and it's like tank looking for slave pens. And as soon as I reread that, I was like, oops, my bad, sorry. And he's like, oh, it's okay, I'll DPS. Which is usually a yellow flag, like, somebody who can do either role just as well, unless either they're ridiculously overgeared, and then in which case, why are they even there? And everybody's still leveling, so that's not the case. But since it was a druid, feral druid is like one of the rare categories where they can, I mean, they can suck equally at both tanking and DPSing. Couldn't resist. So it's like, oh, okay. And then the group comes together like super fast, which seems like a good thing, but statistically, it's not quite a yellow flag, but it's not a good sign, because usually, you know, if there's people out there just looking to ruin other people's dungeon runs, and, well, not necessarily ruin them, but just like get into conflicts. Is somebody clearing out all the wolves? But they're just there for primarily for the conflict. Shoot, lost my point. Well, at any rate, yeah. So group comes together really fast. Not like a strong bad sign, but not good. Nobody's even in the zone where the dungeon is at. Not even the group leader. And somehow I managed to get there first. And it looks like I still got like another freaking at least another 5 minutes to, okay, this kill is going really slow, but I just moved to a zone. I should be fighting stuff, you know, much lower level, because you kind of have to do that as a warrior. Anyway, so I get there, and it's like, well, I'll go get some coffee. And I said, be right back, coffee. I come back, it's only like 90 seconds later. No, it's more than that. Because you were further away than that. Maybe I took longer than I thought. It doesn't really matter. I wasn't gone that long. And I come back, and there's all this in the chat. Like, oh, Talon's AFK, where's Talon? What's going on? It's like, learn to scroll up. Like I said, I'd be right back. You know, I didn't type all that in there, but I did say learn to scroll up, because trying to cast when your primary reason is for being there is conflict, you just want to ensure that you're not the person at the bottom. So everybody starts trying to establish their cover narratives, whether they've got bad internet, or, you know, hey, I haven't played in a while, or like there's a bunch of standard ones people will use, and it's like, if somebody actually hasn't, they're probably not going to draw a lot of attention to that. But I think they've seen like genuine players do it, and it seems like a good way to cover, and it is kind of effective. So many flags. Yeah, there were weird, oddly specific but obscure bragging about things in the game. Like, I'm going to make honored on this run. Oh, good for you. You know? Like, you know? It's like, yeah, I've been working towards some weird thing. And just like this kind of weird, non-specific, like bragging stuff that like low status males seem to engage in a lot. But yeah, it's, you know, like I was the first one there, and somehow it's going to flip that into I'm the problem, which, you know, wasn't a good sign. And then, like I said, they were like, you know, kind of like a little bit of chest beating, but they're all like happy crappy, like friendly, like they're not like being all aggressive with each other. And then get everybody summoned, run in, and then you know that part. No, it's just not worth doing that run. Do I still have all my tanky stuff on? Yeah, it looks that way. Okay. I have like DPS gear too. That's probably why it took forever to kill that thing. And I almost made the topic of the stream courtesy, the true virtue signal. Because that's really what it is. Courtesy is about taking on the responsibility of distinguishing yourself from the garbage people out there. And I don't know, I think in a society that works, that has to be part of it. Like, you have to, the way you show that you're a good person and virtuous is to be really courteous and be thinking about other people. It seems to have slid into, you know, that's actually hard. because you don't want to do it. Being nice to someone who you're sure is being a dick to you, as long as they're doing it, you know, within the socially acceptable range of being a dick to other people, you kind of have to go with it. So it's like, just like I was saying with the tanking thing, like, you know, watching people's mana, sitting down when I'm not going to pull for a while, you know, trying to keep the mobs in one spot so that, you know, the DPS can, you know, do the most damage they can do. Because a lot of tanks, especially the pally tanks now, they'll just, they generate such an ungodly, unfair amount of threat that they'll just go whack a few things a few times and just run on to the next group so they can pad the meter. Because they'll keep, with damage reflect and things like that, they'll keep picking up damage on those mobs. But they're really cutting the DPS, the amount of damage that the DPS characters can do by moving them out of range and making them chase them around and stuff. And it's this really passive-aggressive thing pally tanks do. And when warrior tanks get really well geared, they'll do it too. So it's not it's not about the class. That's just what it is. Like, anywhere, you know, if there's toxicity and it gets clamped down on, it doesn't leave. It's like trying to, I'm going to destroy this Play-Doh by squeezing it really hard. And I'm going to ignore the fact that, you know, the harder I squeeze, the more of it slips between my fingers. And I'm going to claim victory. I, you know, disintegrated the Play-Doh. And what's actually, you know, like I said, like, what's happening is it just squeezes out your fingers someplace else where you're not noticing. And that's in games and in life. And that's one of the things I noticed when I started to become more aware of why people do what they do. When I started understanding people a lot more, and I not only understood why what was happening, I was able to predict, you know, how things would turn out, and even, like, you know, basically make interventions for, I mean, it's stuff everybody does, but, like, it was relatively new for me, and having conscious access to it makes it a little bit different process. But what I realized was I'd realize other people were doing crap, and then I'd realize I was doing that crap, and then I would be like, I'm not doing that crap anymore. You know, just like minor, you know, like unconscious aggression stuff. But then I'd, like, you know, eliminate that stuff, and, you know, and then you fall into the trap of, I'm such a good person. But like I said with the Play-Doh analogy, it doesn't go anywhere. It just, if you expand your awareness and become aware of some of the, you know, shitty things you're doing that you weren't aware of, and then you correct those things, they don't go anywhere. They just move outside your your new ring of awareness. And then if you become more aware than that, you notice those things, it'll squeeze out even further. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try. You definitely should. Because, you know, you're just abstracting it further and further away till it has less and less to do with what you are. But the idea that, you know, you can just get rid of it is naive. And I got involved in a couple of things and tried to help and had unintended consequences, and decided that, I don't know, I had to set up, like, kind of and basically ethical restraints on how I interact with people, because I don't want to screw up any relationships. And you think, like, when you figure something out that other people haven't figured out, and then you want to, or you learn about it and you want to share it with other people, it's like, oh my God, this is BS. You have to understand. It's like, I don't know, it's almost turning into a mantra that societies are held up by a tapestry of load-bearing delusions. You know, they're all, and maybe study the tapestry a little bit longer before you start pulling on threads is kind of where I'm at. Because anybody can find something on. That's basically what the atheist thing was. And, well, I suppose most people would apply most definitions of atheist to me. For a lot of them, it was, I don't know, the motivations weren't what they seemed to be. How long have I been going? Only 15 minutes. Well, maybe I could do actually something fun in the game. Should I try to get a dungeon? Let's see, is anybody looking? I think I can do this quickly. Okay. This is my left screen. I do not see anybody looking for tanks. And I really want to do Underbog or Slave Pens. I want that rep. That neck piece at 70 is pretty good. Look at me talking about the actual game stuff. I should put this back. But I guess in real life, you'll get this kind of feeling like something's not right about a person, like something about their words and their actions, like it's disjoined in a way that you can't. It's hard to notice things that don't match. It's even harder to articulate things that don't match. Oh yeah, let me put on DPS gear. That will probably work better. Some of it anyway. The stuff that's not behind my OBS. Damn, I totally forgot my train. Oh, in real life, like, you'll be like, okay, something's just not right about that person. A lot of times, turns out, you know, even if they weren't dangerous, they're definitely got some, like, some stuff not quite right. And, I don't know, I think people could develop that. I'm not saying, you know, study, you know, psychology and unconscious aggression. I would just say, like, if a series of clusters of unlikely things, you should take note of. Especially, you know, some of the things I listed, you know, like the people setting up their excuse in advance for why they're going to be performing badly. Well, you know, or, because they'll do both, you know, making weird brags about stuff. Anytime you make another person wait, you know, any excuse, you know, if they can just have people waiting for them, that's a sign. Like, I'm got this hyper agreeable thing to where, like, I absolutely hate it if anybody's ever waiting on me. I absolutely despise it. So I know I'm a little neurologically disposed in the opposite direction. Well, like I was saying before, courtesy is the true virtue signal. Like, if you put in the effort in to make sure that you couldn't be confused for somebody, you know, being a selfish jerk, or I'll just kill whatever. Like, if you know that there's a lot of people being jerks out there, and you make no effort to distinguish yourself from those jerks, but expect to not be treated like one of those jerks when accidents happen, I don't know, I think it's unrealistic. Or probably realistic, but not accurate, you know? Weird hair to split there. But if you're feeling like, okay, this just doesn't seem right, like the person seems to keep having weird problems that just happen to be like screwing everybody, I think because we're still trying to maintain certain aspects of the courtesy system we have. What the hell? What, did he debuff me with, like, I can't hit anything debuff? I got a buttload of hit rating. How much hit rating do I have? Maybe not a buttload, but I got 79 hit rating. That's 6%. I don't know. Misses come in weird clusters. So and I would basically just say get out. And I realize that I sort of have an enemy in this, and they're not bad people, but like and it's the can't we all just get along type. To where, like, I actually had a decent conversation with somebody in Rocket League. We weren't like yelling at each other, weren't being toxic. We just kind of had a difference of opinion of, like, well, why, you know, I'm like, the guy is literally passing to the other team, like, over and over again. And he had this whole, like, just, why don't you just play, whatever. It's like, no, playing involves a game. A game is something to where roughly equal factions, compete with something, both sides having something of a chance to win. Like, that's a game. When somebody decides to change teams and, basically help the other team, or screw their own team, which, there is a distinction there, but it's not very important. I don't know, it's something different. It's just, you can have so much fun in games when people are playing cooperatively. Just like in Rocket League, it's like, the amazing things that I can do, like setting other people up and getting passes back and forth. And, you know, just when you get relaxed, when you don't have to spend the mental effort trying to figure out how your teammates might be screwing you, because they're not, like, it's such a better experience. And like, I've had a couple, I shouldn't say they're all, you know, I don't think I said they're all bad, but I've had a couple pug runs to where, man, I went in and I was only 63. I was like 63, maybe 64, but I think it was 63, and I was tanking underbog. And I had DPS in there that were like 66, 68. And they were murdering me on the meter, of course. You know, first I'm a tank and they're higher level. But they weren't really pulling off of me. Like, they knew how to manage their damage. Like, they stayed on the right targets, and they didn't, I mean, they would they would get over the edge every so often. That's just a sign of somebody trying to maximize their DPS, like, kind of like, you know, tiptoeing up to the edge of a cliff. Like, let's just see how far I can get, you know, and that's okay. There's, you know, you got to cross a line to know where it's at sometimes. So I understand that. But like, then you get in groups where they're not doing any more damage than you. They're just pulling off you all the time because and I've even said it, like, could you not all pick your own targets and possibly all kill the kill target first? That only got 2 people to change targets. The other 2 were just like, as soon as you pull, they'll just pick a target that, you know, that you're holding on, you're beating out heal aggro on. In other words, they'll stay on you, you know, even when big heals come in. But if one of your DPS just opens up on that non-kill target, they're just going to peel them off you, and they know it. And that's the game that they'll play with tanks. Of like, hey, let me see if I can pull off the tank. What? I'm just having fun. What? We're just screwing around here. Relax, dude. You know, and they turn into like this Saddam Hussein from South Park. Relax, guy. You need to take a break. What? What are you talking about? I don't know. And that's where the let's just get along people can get on my nerves, because they're on the same team as the toxic people, because the toxic people want to act like nothing's happening, even though they're basically trying to ruin other people's, their game is ruining other people's experiences. And they need everybody to pretend that that's not happening so they can do their thing. So the let's all just get along people, in this context, are enabling the toxic people. But sometimes they just get along people. It's just they don't see it. They don't realize how they can absolutely believe that a guy accidentally hit it into his own goal 3 times in a row. There are people out there that can believe that. But, you know, it's a spectrum. And even the healers will pull this crap. Like, I don't remember what I was tanking. What I did know is my priest, I had a lot of health. Like, you know, almost 9,000 health unbuffed at 66 is pretty good. So I had a lot of health, and what I took note of, and one thing that's good to take note of is my priest greater heal, even when it crit, it would still only heal me for like 40% of my health, maybe. So if I'm below half health, there is 0 reason not to be casting a heal on me. You know, unless he's being attacked, or unless I was taking massive damage and, you know, he's having trouble keeping up. But when I have the damage trickling in, because I'm keeping my shield block up, you know, I'm keeping them debuffed, I'm in almost full tank gear, like a significant amount of defense, like nothing in there is critting me, and I'm basically unhittable as long as I keep my shield wall up. So the only damage I'm really taking are, you know, 1% shots and damage that gets through my shield block. So when you have a healer who you pulled and half the stuff you've pulled is dead, and you're at like 30% health, and he's just standing there, full mana, waiting to the last second to heal you, that's freaking toxic. That's just shitty. And a lot of times what they want is the conflict. So the shitty things they're doing are to try to draw you into saying, what the fuck? And then they're like, then they act like They're the non-toxic ones. Say, why are you being toxic? And now you're off to the races, and it's just, the conflict that they were looking for the whole time. So, don't be afraid to leave. And the good news is they usually can't contain this for very long. They'll start doing stuff right away. In other situations, people will get frustrated and the knob will get turned up on them and they'll start acting this way and get pushed into that range. But those probably weren't, those are slightly different people. Those people probably actually wanted to run, but then got so annoyed that they kind of converted. I'm talking about the people that just watch Looking for Group and they're looking for just groups to go in and like, because it was like all of them, like every one of them was doing that passive aggressive, I'll buff myself, but not anybody else. And especially that druid, putting thorns on the tank, but not Mark of the Wild. Like, what a power move. Like, just challenging you to ask him why. Come on, just ask me why I only did that. Ask me. It's like they're all just looking for like, but it was interesting. And what I've learned in it's the same thing, like I said, in Rocket League, with a lot more information. Like, having to do in Rocket League, you have to infer it from a lot of like subtle, sometimes not so subtle things, but you can actually, see what people are bragging about and see how they interact with people. So I wish I had recorded it, but a lot of times when stuff like that is happening, I'm just so in the moment. I'm not really thinking about the future or the past, or the fact that I might want a recording of that later. I was just scrolling through, seeing if Dungeon Group come up. Well, I don't know. I've put in about 30 minutes here, so the algorithm doesn't reward me, but I still feed it. But I think it's good. I do 3 videos a week. Posted my first Cyberpunk animation. I have 7 or 8 tracks done off of that. I think it's got like 30 or 40. It's not like Doom with like 60. But I'm going to be starting to post those, and I'll be doing one of those and probably 2 streams a week. And 1 or 2 streams a week and one other like weird video or stream. And then, my regular 2 shorts a day. So this has been Grinding Meaning 20, Red Flags, Yellow Cards, and Dungeon Pugs. I am the Expert Layman. You all have a great day.